So people always ask me, what is the best way I can raise capital to start a business? And one of the first things people usually do is they try to borrow money. They get a loan from a bank, maybe a family member. I think if you have a family member, a rich uncle, a rich aunt, a grandpa, an inheritance, I think that's a great way to start. But let's face it, not a lot of people have that option. And of course, whenever you borrow money from someone, things can get a little sticky with family, as we know. If you have that option, great, run with it. But if not, I would strongly suggest not to go to a bank. I don't think you should ever start a business on a loan, especially through a bank. I think it's a bad idea. What I would tell you is the answer is sweat equity. Sweat equity. And that means go out and hustle. Do something that is going to yield you some cash over a short period of time, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, or even a year. And what can that be? Well, people always say, well, that's easy for you. You're a plumber. Well, that's true. Plumbers are known to make good money, especially if they have no overhead and you just want to do some side job. It's not uncommon for a plumber to go out and make $1,000 a day if he wants to do side work. If you're a plumber, that's a great way to start. Or electrician or an HVAC person, you can go run some ads and raise up some cash. But a lot of us aren't plumbers, or HVAC, or electricians. So what you can do is you can go work at a server. Go be a server. Go be a bartender. Go work Uber or Lyft or home health care. Or you can volunteer in other areas where they can pay you cash. It's tough, but the good thing about starting with sweat equity is that, think about it. If you start with sweat equity and you don't take a loan, that means you're not going to be in debt. Okay, you're not going to be digging a hole that you have to get out of right off the bat. And if you can find a way to get that cash and you become cash positive, well, what does that tell you? It means that whatever you're doing is working and it's yielding you cash right off the bat. So whatever it is you're doing is clearly a positive business idea. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be the idea that you ultimately start a business with. So, for instance, if you want to go bartend for 3 months or 6 months and make $5,000, for instance, that doesn't mean you have to go start a bartending business or work at a bar. You could still go start your salon or whatever it is you're going to do. But if it's making that money, that means it's positive and it's working. Okay, so common sense is if you start small and you go raise cash, that's obviously a very good thing. Where if you get a loan and then you go to try something that doesn't work well, that obviously was unproven. So right off the bat, you got to look at it like that. Also, people ask, well, should I quit my job? I would say be very careful, because if you quit your job to go start something, make sure you have something very concrete and very secure. I would highly suggest you don't quit your job until you start that side hustle. Then from there, if you see whatever it is you're doing, then you can maybe take those steps to quitting your job. Look at there was the person who made Crocs, the shoes. Wasn't there a girl who made those little inserts on the shoes years ago? She started from her kitchen table with her mom, and then she eventually made a bunch of money, and then she eventually stopped what she's doing, and then she quit her job and got into that. Well, there's a classic example of something that she didn't take the risk. She started small. She did the sweat equity. It started proving itself, and then she eventually took the step. So think about it. It's like, if you got a job and you want to go start a business, if you take a loan, there's no guarantee that what you're going to do is going to work. Now you got a loan to pay. Now you're going to be killing yourself just to pay it off. Start with something small. Now, I don't know what that might be. I'm going to continue to put forth ideas out there, but it could be bartending, could be serving, could be the Uber. You could just go assist someone. There's a lot of different options. I'm going to eventually put some more ideas out there for people. You can Google stuff, hit some blogs, get some advice, some referrals, maybe do some photography. I know my nephew once did some blacktop in the neighborhood, got some buckets and got a squeegee and started resurfacing neighborhood driveways, doing that for $200, $300, $400 at a time. He did 2 of those in the weekend. He's making a bunch of cash. I gave him credit for the little bit he did. He made some cash. You just got to get real creative, okay? But you got to think about it. If you're really putting it out there, that means, one, if you start it means you have the drive, it means you have the fire, and it means that you kept your job, and then you've also found something that's paying. So that's a good start to becoming an entrepreneur. It means that you're, rather than taking out this risky loan, it means you're going out there to start something and you're getting the real equity, and you're putting in the real time, and now you're yielding cash. And that's a good start before you start a business, to get some real experience working with the public and raising cash. Now, how much should you be looking to make? Well, obviously every business is different. I don't know what business you're trying to start, but a number that sticks in my head is like 5,000. 5,000 can get the ball rolling. It can get you a website domain. It can get you an online business phone number. It can get you a website started. You can go to Fiverr.com, get some logos, some graphics made. You can send in your LLC papers, get a little banking going. 5,000 is a good kind of a number to think about if you want to take that first step in starting a business. We'll talk more about what type of businesses you should start, but a number that comes to my head is like 5,000 or maybe 10,000. Obviously, the more cash flow you have, by the time you go to start that business, the more you get, more seed you're going to put in the ground, and more foundation you're going to be able to build, so you can then start that business. But what I'm going to tell you, people, is minimize your risk, because like anything else, you do not want to have debt going into starting a business. I was a plumber, as you know, for many years. So when I decided to start my business, my current business, I knew the ropes very well, and I was willing to put in the time. I had a full-time job, but I was working at nights. I was doing evenings. I was literally loading my car full of tools and bins with PVC fittings and copper fittings and my torch and some of my hand tools into my trunk, and I drive into the city at 5 p.m. and sometimes work till 8, 9, 10 p.m. But you know what? Sometimes I had $800 in my pocket a night, sometimes $1,000 even. And I was doing that 3-4 nights a week, plus carrying that in a week, and I was making sometimes $3,000 to $4,000 a week on top of my salary. So obviously, I was able to build up that $5,000 and $10,000 and $15,000 that eventually got me the ability to start my first business. I'll give you a quick story. When I first started my plumbing company, I had little to nothing. I had, just like I said, my car and a trunk and some tools and a couple bins I bought from Home Depot and some PVC fittings, some copper fittings. One of the very first things I did is I bought what's called a drain cleaning machine. I bought a Rigid K50 drain cleaning machine. That's that little snake machine that you put down a kitchen drain that unclogs your drain. It was $1,300, which was a big chunk at the time. I had about $2,500 in my bank, and I had a stack of bills, and I had to take this risk to buy this tool. I was $1,300, but I bought the base kit of it for $900. And I ended up buying the secondary. There was an extension I needed to put on that drain cleaning machine, and I bought it a couple weeks later. But I bought that kit that day for $900, and I went and did a job. I was a spa downtown on LaSalle Street in Chicago, and there was a steam room in there, and the water was 2 inches off the ground, and some lady's golden ankle necklace went down the drain and clogged the drain. I went there, unclogged it, all the water went down, and I was able to charge a customer, because it's a commercial application, $650. Because it was in a multi-unit high-rise building. I made very good money. I paid for more than 2/3 that drain cleaning machine that day. I remember speeding to the bank that evening to put in the check just to clear it. That $900 I took out, I immediately replaced with $650, and I only had 1/3 of it to pay the very next day. So those are the types of things you might have to do. Just start small, people. Never bite off more than you can chew. Common logic says if you're going out and you're earning cash, and you're making money that same day or the next day or two, then you're in good position. That means what you're doing is real, it's working, and there's little risk, there's no loan. So go out there, make the money, get the cash. Now, if eventually you need tools and equipment, I know it's tough because you want to have everything in the beginning, but just start small. Look at a barber or a stylist. What do they have? Clippers, scissors, hair dryer, couple of the basics, right? Couple extra gizmos. Not much. I know people that start with just a little kit, and then you go from there. Sure, eventually you'd like to get the fancy chair and the mirrors and everything else, but that's kind of an analogy. I would love to. I could have went out and made $5,000, $10,000 on some of those plumbing jobs had I had bigger equipment, but I just didn't have it in front of me, so I didn't want to take that risk. I bought that little machine. Now, luckily, the next day I had a $650 job. You don't always get those. Usually, I'd get $200 and $300 jobs. They would take me 2-3 weeks to replace that, but I got lucky that particular week. But you know what? As they say, luck favors the prepared. So I just want to put this out to you. For some people are asking, well, how do I get the money to start a business? Well, the best answer is don't get a loan. If you happen to have an amazing friend or family member that's willing to give you the cash, that's great, but just be careful. Sometimes it comes with strings attached. Maybe not. Maybe they're a great person. They're willing to float you the money for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever the terms are. If you can get that, great. But if the only option you have is to go do it yourself, Sweat Equity is the best way to do it because it gives you the practice of starting a business. It gets you in the mode. It's going to test you, your drive, and if you start making that cash, you're halfway in the game. Now you know you're doing something constructive. You're making some cash money. You're seeing that bank account build up. You get to that 1,000, 3,000, 5,000. Now you've got some chips to play with. Now you can start to consider planting bigger seeds in the ground, like buying your website domain, starting a Google listing, reserving a small storefront to create a brick and mortar business. So that's my tip for the day, because a lot of people ask me, how, if I'm going to start a business, how do I get the money? I'm telling you, the answer is Sweat Equity, people. Start small, go do it yourself, and if you do need equipment or tools, start with the little ones. So like the barber, he gets the scissors, it's just enough to do a haircut, and then you can buy the fancy stuff later. Like me, I started with a small drain cleaning machine. Eventually I bought much bigger ones where I could do a larger project, but start small, work hard, build up that cash. I promise you it's going to get you to that rhythm. It's going to minimize your risk, and then you can start to take the next step. So that's my advice for getting to how to start a business with if you don't have the money. Hope this blesses you. God bless.